Welcome to If It Was a Book. It's a literary podcast where we take a story either from myself, my guest, or one of you lucky listeners, and we turn it into what we would think would be a book. And so our qualifications are that I am a librarian and also a book talker. You may know me from 130 Books in 130 Days. And my lovely guest today is Cara Bastone. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I'm so glad to be here.
The author of 10 books, number 11 coming soon. And then, Cara, is there anything else you'd like to include in your qualifications?
Qualifications as a story maker.
As a story maker, story reader, story consumer.
Constant imagination game player for myself, I would say. And then I also was a ghostwriter for a long time. So even though I only have 11 books to my own name, I have written closer to like over 100 probably overall. So I've done a lot of story crafting in my life.
100? Like
Easily.
goodness.
Yeah, easily.
When did you write your first book?
Well, my mom
Published
would say,
or not? Your first like
grade.
completed story?
Yeah, probably the first real one. I was about 21, I think, and it was a romance. It was so bad. It was so bad. I love it. I still look back on it and love it. And then I just was like, no, I have to be serious. I have to get a real job. And so I started studying econ, which I'm like, oh my God, who is that? Who's that girl that did that? And then I realized, that there's not a lot of real jobs in that either, to be honest. And I went back to studying literature and writing a ton. And then after I graduated college, it was off to the races. I was always writing a book after that.
That's awesome. So you studied econ. Did you ever do a job that wasn't writing?
Well, I was a nanny for a while. The main character of this book is a nanny as well. And I temped in New York City for a while. So I actually did contract scanning at Penguin for I did this project, and it was about as interesting as it sounds, but I will say that some really cool contracts came across, I forget, I think there was an F. Scott Fitzgerald contract that came across my table, and it was parchment paper, and I had to wear not parchment but falling apart type of paper. I had to wear special gloves and stuff like that. That was pretty cool.
Oh my God.
And then, there's just jobs
I love
in general.
Archival. That's not the kind of librarianship I do, but it's so fascinating to me, which it sounds like you got to do some archival work with those contracts. That's so cool.
It's a whole world. It's a world that goes very deep. And the people who are experts in it, I'm like, teach me. They have this body of knowledge that never would have even occurred to me before.
Yeah. Well, you have a story that you'd like to tell us, and then we're going to rewrite it.
Yes. Okay. This story happened to a family friend.
Okay.
Who is now probably about 70. So when she was 18, 19, 20, she was with a man and, a boy, so someone her age, and they were very, very, very in love. He had to go away to college. And when he went away, she just never heard from him again. They completely fell out of touch. She was worried. What happened to him, she never knew. She was totally heartbroken and devastated. And then a couple of years later, she met who is the person who's now her husband. Great and lovely person. And they have a wonderful marriage. About 40 years after that, she was helping her mother clean out their attic. And in the attic, she found a box of letters from the man that she had been dating, that her mother had intercepted and hidden away because she didn't want them to date anymore.
The Notebook?
Right?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, right. It's the real Notebook, right? But 40 years late, right? It's not in the nick of time. It's the ship has sailed. So she was, of course, devastated and, monstrous betrayal. And she was able with Facebook to track this man down. And because she knew that he hadn't ghosted her, she was interested in reconnecting with him, thinking that they should know each other, right?
Is her husband still alive at this point?
Yes.
I'm just wondering.
And encouraged this.
Okay.
Was oh, wow, this was such a betrayal. You have unfinished business with this person. You should meet him. And so she did. And they went out for lunch. And she said that her connection with old boyfriend was so visceral and so electric and so immediately romantic that they said goodbye, and they've never spoken since, because she was I'd have to leave if I see him again, I'll have to leave my husband. I don't want to. They have children. They have a lovely marriage and they love each other, and she doesn't want to. And so she turned and walked out, and she's never seen him again.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay.
I love this story because I'm like, is this a sad story or is this a happy story?
Yeah,
You know, because
I think that she did what was going to make her happy, ultimately.
right. And the truth of it is the reason she left that lunch date and never saw him again is because her marriage is so strong.
Right.
So if it was like she was in a bad marriage, she couldn't figure out how to get out of it or something, that would be just a sad story. But this is like, yeah, missed opportunity, missed chance, but also she grew something lovely for 40 years with someone who she loves. So it's, you know, it's complicated. It's not just one thing or the other.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't believe that your family friend got notebooked. That's
I know.
crazy.
Like proper notebook.
I thought that you were going to say, and this is something that I like started writing and then never finished, which is true of everything I've ever written, is that I never finish anything. So when I was like very young and very dramatic, I was like, you know, it'd be the perfect story. So in the past, she was like writing these letters to her childhood best friend, and he was like conscripted or something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
He wasn't there for some reason. And she was
it.
writing these letters to him, and like after a while he stops responding, and we don't really know why, but she keeps sending them. And she's an artist, so like throughout the story, like you can kind of tell her mood through her art, whether or not she's saying it through her words. And I also can't draw, so this could never happen. And so like you can see like she's talking about going to school, and she got this internship, and she's like drawing all of these like very excited like little caricatures of herself. And then like as she falls into this unhappy relationship, unhappy with her job, unhappy with all of these things, that like sort of shows through the images that like she's drawing less or she's drawing darker. But this never happened because I cannot draw. And I cannot finish anything. But anyways, the very end of this story that I will never write is that he died. And you don't know that. She's been sending these letters, and they never make it to him because he has passed. And there's like letters where she's like kind of yelling at him, being like, call your mom. Like, she misses you so much.
Right.
Like,
we need you. We need you to come home. Yeah.
And then like the last page is like a thing when you're at a funeral, and it's like the in loving memory of.
Yes.
Kind of, and that's,
wow.
Yeah. But I never finished that, so don't worry about it. But that's where I thought that was going.
So when you don't finish something, do you drop off in the middle, or like you get less interested, or what happens?
The problem is that I write the end, and so then I'm like, well, it's over. It's done. What do I need now?
I know how it
ends. So then the middle never happens.
I see. Well, I will tell you, the middle of any story is just so hard to write. Because at the beginning, you're so excited, it's so fresh, and you get to like set the stage, right? And the end, you usually have kind of a general idea of how it's going to end. And like you start at the end because you know it's the most exciting part to write. But the middle, you're like, oh my God, how do we get from point A to point B? This is a nightmare. Can I just put them on like a bullet train and they go straight there? Like, how do we cut the middle out, you know?
Agree. The middle is so hard, and I simply can't do it. But that's where you have successfully written over 100 middles, and I could never.
Some better than others, I will say. I think we're talking except for the 11 that I've published under my name, with the other books that I've ghostwritten, we're definitely talking quantity over quality. That was like, I had to just get it done.
When you ghostwrite, do they make changes later, or do they just kind of take it how you wrote it?
You know, almost never by the end were they making changes, mostly because I would understand what they were asking for a lot better at that point, and I could match the voice of what they wanted, or it was like the 5th or 6th book that I had written in a series for them, so I kind of understood what was going on. And also clients, I was working with regular clients at the end, and so pretty much any time I'd work with a new client, they would give me some suggestions on how to change things, but I could always tell for the most part that they weren't writers, and so the suggestions they were offering, I'm like, here's how this looks after we have incorporated that suggestion. And then there would almost always be like, actually, I liked it better the first way. Like, let's change it back.
But
yeah.
Should we?
So not to like toot my own horn, but I think a lot of the changes or the suggestions of changes that I would ultimately get, like we would kind of revert back to the way it worked. As a writer, I can be very flexible, but I do just have one brain. And like there is one way that I can kind of make stories work, and I can change my style, I can be flexible, but I can't change how my brain works. And so there's a lot of fingerprints in those stories for just how I write in general.
And do you always start at the end, or do you start at the beginning?
No, I almost always start in the middle, actually, now that
But that's the hardest
I've been complaining about the middle. Almost always for projects of my heart, I almost always start in the middle, and it's with just like a scene. Even before characters come to me, it's like a scene comes to me. It's very bright. It's very vibey. It's got a color in there. I know what color this scene is. It's like so clear. And from there, I can kind of be like, okay, who are the people that are in this scene? What are the circumstances that led them to this scene? And there, like the rest of the book grows usually from those bright moments.
So for those of you listening and or watching, I read and loved and sobbed throughout Promise Me Sunshine, which is Cara Bastone's newest release. Where did you start in that book? What was your scene?
Like, which scene did I start with them? Okay, it was the scene outside of the all-night dance party when he's like trying to convince her that he's for real and that he really can help her. A lot of that dialogue is me talking to me, honestly, about grief, like processing grief. And that actually combines with another scene of him talking to her about like what grief means and how you love someone through, you're still loving them as they are. And what they are is not there anymore. So your love has to like change with the person as they change, as they transition to being not here with us anymore. A lot of that is me talking to me. And I thought to myself, this is fucking romantic. Like, oh my God.
It sure was.
It was me talking to me. So I was like, okay, I think there's a character who's here who's like, probably someone who helped me get through this, like a version of me who helped me get through this, experiences that loss that caused me grief. And who is that person? How do I put them on the page? I think that means that Miles was there before Lenny was, but Lenny is quite a bright character and she kind of took over as soon as she was there. I didn't have to hunt for her character at all. She was just like, hello, here I am in my terrible clothes with my terrible hair. And
no, I love her.
I know, me too. I have a real soft spot for her.
Well, where would you like to start in this one? Not to bring you back out of the grief talk.
Yeah.
And do you want, there's two options with this podcast. We can each write our own and then sort of come together, or we can workshop it together and sort of shout out at each other as it grows.
Let's workshop it together.
Okay, that is what everyone has chosen, fun. But I want to give the other option.
Someday there will be some unique writer that's just like, nope, I've got it. Let me do mine, let you do yours.
It's what's in the pitch, and so I don't want to like blindside anyone and be like, just kidding, now we're doing this new thing.
Right. No, yeah, let's do it together.
Okay, great. Where would we like to start? What are we feeling? What are our thoughts for so we have all of these letters. Are we finding the letters or have we already found the letters? Where are we?
Okay, so I think here's the question. What genre is this, or what subgenre is this? Is this contemporary? Is this fantasy? Is there time slip involved? Because one thing I was thinking could be interesting about this story is have you ever seen the movie Sliding Doors?
I have not.
Okay, so the idea is like you might be living two lives simultaneously, that they branch off at a pivotal moment. So I was wondering like what would have happened if she had found the letters before she met her now husband, So like, could she be living two lives simultaneously? And then which path leads her to the life she really wants? And I think if we're spoiling the end of the story that we're writing together, I bet it's her original life, the life
I was
she got
thinking
to live
the same
anyways.
thing, is that like if we do a time jump where we're going back in time and she's like knows about the letters and she's trying to be with this person that she once loved as a child, and they do have like explosive chemistry and everything, but she's missing this other life that she had, her partner, who like ends up being her lifelong 40-year marriage partner.
Right. With the juicy discovery in there being that the sort of love that can last for 40 years might not have the same sort of explosive chemistry at the beginning.
Right. That lust and love are not necessarily the same.
Totally.
Okay, great.
Okay. Love that. All right. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think we start with finding the letters?
I think that we kind of have to. So we're in the future, or rather we're in current times, and we are cleaning out our mother's attic. And we found this box of letters, some sort of magical urban fantasy things happen, and we're transported back in time.
Yes. Okay. So as she's finding the letters, she picks up the letters. She realizes what she's reading, and she's looking at her hands, and they go from being like an old woman's hands back into like a young woman's hands.
We're losing all of our hand wrinkles. I like it.
Yeah. All right. And so the thing I don't like about time slips or about like novels that play with time is, or the thing I don't like about writing them, because I actually have written a couple of them, is like all of the contrived conversation of like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? I can't believe I'm back in time, where the character has to like accept it.
Huh?
Because like as a reader, you're like, yeah, we get it. You know, I read the back of the book. I'm in on the premise. I bought the book, right? Like, so just
That's
get me
so
there.
me.
So yeah. So we got to find a way to skip that. She's just accepted it.
Yeah, I mean,
she forgets her other life or something like that. So she just,
that
it's
would be
seamless
interesting,
for her.
especially as like some parallels happen and you start to get that like deja vu feeling, but it's like things from her new life or her future life that like,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, cool. So she forgets, she immediately accepts, she forgets the life, her original life.
Mm-hmm.
She takes the box of letters and she goes downstairs to her mother.
So she still has the letters.
I think, yeah. So say it's like a year's worth of letters if we're doing the notebook. We're completely ripping off the notebook.
But it happened.
It happened in real life. Yeah, the notebook ripped off her. So there's still like, we're still within this like plausible deniability. Like he probably still loves her, even though she didn't. So we're like a year-ish or maybe 2-ish years out. The letters have stopped for a year. She thinks maybe I could still go get him.
Okay. So we're going back in time, not to when the letters were written, but like right after the letters, or like right after the first year of letters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the mother is
that
still
makes
done
more
the
sense
betrayal.
for why she still has the letters, because I was like, wait, but if we're in the past, they aren't there yet. Okay, I'm with you.
Right, yes. So the mother still betrayed her.
Okay.
She finds the letter. She realizes her person could still probably love her. She goes and gets him. She goes to him. Insta love, the chemistry is back and they're like back in it. But she's had to leave her family behind because they don't like him. I wonder if, you know, like as they start inevitably fighting, things are unraveling. If these are the deja vu moments where she's an overlaying of fights she's had with her real husband, the 40-year marriage husband, are like overlaid. So like she's having these bad fights with insta love high school boyfriend, and she doesn't like them. And then she's overlaid with like what it means to argue with someone who is like respectful and loving and kind. So like that's the deja vu moment where she's like, I think there's something more out there for me.
I feel like it would be interesting for some sort of dialogue overlap where he like starts to say something that future husband has said, but it ends differently, where like...
So cool. Such a good idea. Yes. I love that.
I don't know what they would say, but something like, and then she's like trying to finish the sentence because she knows what future husband was going to say, but then new guy, or old guy technically, is like saying something else. Like that's not, they aren't on the same page in that way.
Yes. And the same thing could kind of be happening a bit potentially with her mother. Cause like she was, even though her mother did commit this like heinous betrayal, which has to be rectified at some point somehow, because she didn't lose her family at that moment, she was able to like have her family's structure supporting her throughout her life still.
Well, she didn't, because your family friend found this when her mother died, right? So she never got the closure of having this argument with her mother about...
We could say that her mother was alive at the time. But
sorry.
Yeah, maybe it's better that way.
I was just like, she didn't get the closure in the original. Now she can get the closure.
Right. Okay, so that would definitely how it would be in the book, I think. So she can get the closure. They can actually have a fight about the betrayal. Okay, so but her relationship is unraveling as she's realizing that there's not enough like gas in the tank for them to go the distance. So then does she go back to the future, or does she just organically meet the person who becomes her husband?
I think that when she organically meets the person who's going to be her husband. Okay, so my ending scene here that's in my mind would be if she has sort of come to the realization that like this relationship was something that she built up in her head to be like the end all be all of what a perfect relationship was going to be, because she simply did not play it out.
Right.
That it was just all tension and no like actual connection in the same way.
Right.
And so then she comes to that realization. She's like, okay, I understand that like he was not the guy for me, and I am getting that. But this is her still not 100% knowing that like she's gone back in time. So then she's like at a coffee shop or whatever, going through this in her mind where she's like, okay, so that relationship wasn't what I had hoped it was going to be. And I think maybe our future husband is like pulling up a chair, being like, hey, is this seat taken? And as soon as she meets him, she's back in the future.
Okay, awesome. That's a great idea. So once they meet, okay. And then once she's back in the future, does she remember what she's just gone through? She must.
I think so, yeah. Well, and there's two options there of like, is she back in the future remembering that she had gone back in time? Or is she back in the future with this new memory of this is how it played out. This is how my life played out. I did do those things. And now 40 years later, we had the same experience because me and husband are just like very compatible. And no matter what, we were meant to be together. We got together. We had the exact same life. Our children are the same people, so on.
Right. Yes. So I think there would have also had to have been something that she left behind when she left. Say she was, as an example, really into music. She was a guitar player. And when when the boyfriend, when she lost contact with the boyfriend, originally she stopped playing the guitar. But when she goes back to the future now, she's back in her original life with all this knowledge that that she's on the right path.
Right.
She's supposed to, whatever. But then she also has to do something for herself too, where she wants to like reclaim this thing that she had lost. Which is, let's say, guitar playing, or whatever it is, painting or whatever thing that she gets to have for herself, so that like the journey into her past wasn't just about
it wasn't
who
just
she was
about
going
a
to be
guy
with or who she was going to love. It's also about like living a full life and living a life without regrets, and also like trying hard and not living like in fear of failure.
I like that. I think, and it can totally still be guitar. I guess I never really decided, or we never really decided how old she was. I'm thinking about how difficult it can be to like hold the guitar if you haven't been doing it for so long, that like
Totally
potential arthritis issues. But I actually don't remember. I don't know why in my mind she's like much older than she probably actually is.
Yeah, I think she was like 60 when this happened.
Okay.
So maybe so. Okay, so if it's not guitar, it could be something else. I don't know.
We could do like photography, or I did like the painting, but I think the same thing of like holding it might be hard to like re-grasp as an adult.
There you go. Photography is very cool. Like something artsy, something she had a passion for, but the passion died when the passion died.
And I think that could also be something with the like, not to bring it back to the middle, but the middle, it could be, so part of her like deja vu flashbacks could be like taking pictures at different events with boyfriend, and boyfriend is like, hey, can you put down your silly little hobby or whatever? Like we're trying to do other things right now, and this is
I
really
see. Okay.
But then she's like having deja vu of like, hey, you're doing great, or like, hey, like, I'm trying to think of the right wording for it, but basically support versus, your little hobby is cute, but we're doing other things right now.
Right. Maybe that's also kind of a, like, there was an inevitability, no matter what life she was going to live, she was going to give up this passion, this hobby, for some period of time. But like now that she's 60 or whatever, how old she is, she can pick it back up again. It's not too late. It's not like passion is not just for youth.
Right.
Like,
it's never too late to follow your dreams.
Yes, exactly. And then she can, instead of being like, because I got married or because I broke up with this man or because I was with this man and he didn't like it, whatever it was, that's the reason I stopped. It's more like sometimes you just don't continue something because of life, and then you can pick it back up later. You know, it's like just like what you were saying, it's never too late.
I think it would also be interesting to bring the mom back into that, where like maybe she is supportive of the photography, like she's buying her the cameras and everything, but she's like, but that is your fun thing that you do while you're working towards a career. Like, it's very important that you have a career. And like, I think that part of the fight about the letters would be something to do with, I know that you want what's best for me, and these are the things that you think are best for me, but we really do have to just like let me figure out what I'm gonna do. Like, this is my life. It's not my dream, Dad, it's yours.
Yeah. Part of the rupture wasn't just like, he's not the right boy for you. It's like, this isn't
the future for you.
You're not walking down the right path, so I'm going to alter that path. Yeah, I like that too, because then part of the realization is that like, in some ways the mom is right. It doesn't minimize the betrayal, but it does give it nuance. Like, the mom should not have done that. There's no question the mom should not have done that, but like the nuance of, because what I wouldn't want is for her to have to carry anger at the mom forever.
Yeah.
Like you want her to be able to like see the side, see the perspective, be like, that was super clumsy and it really screwed up my life. But my life is also great. And I'm allowed to like still love my mom, even though she did that.
Right. I think so. Maybe a
Screwed up
way to
thing.
do that would be if the mom in this fight tells her stories about like when the mom was younger and the mom was having a very similar explosive relationship
Totally.
and how it went wrong. She's like, I wanted to
Mhm.
spare you from that. Like, I now realize that I did it wrong,
Right.
but I want you to have this life that I wasn't able to have at the time or what have you.
Maybe the dad, maybe the mom's relationship with the dad was something very similar to the relationship that she broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Like he reminded me of your
Yeah.
father, or you reminded me of me when I was getting together with your father, or something like that. And so maybe she gets to like finally learn the story behind her parents' relationship as well. And so she can like see everything is informed there.
I
Maybe
think
her father was a photographer.
maybe. I also think that would be a really interesting way if her mother in the past was not happy, that like maybe both of them help each other find their passions and find like, well, okay, so you did this because you're not happy with your life. Like, what would have made your life better? And then when we're flash forwarded to the future, mom also has a hobby. Maybe she does painting. Maybe she does something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
it was
Totally.
something that she didn't have time for or didn't feel like she could do or maybe was looked down upon by the dad figure. I don't know.
Mhm.
Now both women have something that makes them happy outside of their relationships.
And maybe not the end scene, but the because there could be epilogue or whatever, but like she comes back to the attic. She's got the old hands again. She's holding the box of letters. She puts the box of letters down, goes to a different box in the attic, opens it up. It's all of her photography equipment.
Yeah.
She takes that downstairs and gets started on her act 3, baby.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. I think that's fun.
Oh man, we went like full Nicholas Sparks.
Well, we did
This is
start with the
amazing.
notebook.
Yeah, right.
Not on purpose, but we did start with the notebook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's true. And this is a happy ending, so
Right.
not not full Nicholas Sparks for sure.
Yes. And I think, yeah, I guess we can make it end in the way that your actual family friend ended, where the mother is not dead and then they get to experience their hobbies together.
Right, right, right. Yeah, totally. Love that. This is such a cool podcast.
Thank you. Tell your friends. Is there anything else you want to add to the story, or should we talk about some books?
I feel like we nailed the story. I don't know. How about you?
I love
any
it.
loose
I think
threads?
it's great. Having someone who's written 100 books made it go really fast. So, can you tell me a little bit more? We talked a bit at the beginning about ghostwriting, and what is that process like for people who may be interested in joining or who may just want to know more?
Yeah. It's a real mixed bag.
Okay.
And I would say anyone, especially if you are a younger person, you go with your intuition, because there are definitely like people out there who can take you for a ride for your money and time, or be wanting you to write things you don't want to write, that sort of thing. Put on your Cara Bastone hat and be like, what would Cara Bastone think about this situation? Because she wants the best for me. So that's my first advice I would give anyone who is interested in it. But the way I got started was I was a receptionist at the time, hating my job, not because being a receptionist is bad work at all, but I just was sitting there like thinking about, reading all the time, every spare second I could, and then thinking about all of these stories that were in my head. And I was feeling unhappy because sometimes if you can't let them out, they just race around
Yeah.
in there. They get, it's like a toddler. You have to like let the kid go out and play. And I just wasn't able to put these stories down. So I literally Googled like how to make money with your creative writing degree is what I Googled, but it could just be how to make money with creative writing. And it brought me to, gosh, what's it called? I think it's called Thumbtack. It's like a TaskRabbit sort of website where you can hire people to like come over and change your light bulbs, but you can also you can advertise yourself as a writer. I wrote mostly fiction. I did help write a memoir, and then I did help with some email correspondences with people, like as them, pretending to be them, that sort of thing. But for the most part, I did was fiction, and I charged by the word. Was how it went. I charged absolutely nothing. I was writing like entire novels for $275, stuff like that. That didn't last that long because that's not sustainable,
Right.
obviously. And once you, no matter what platform you use, I'm sure like once you start completing projects and people are happy with it, you have some cachet to be able to charge for, that kind of thing. And sometimes I was writing other people's ideas. And then after a while, they would be like, what are your ideas? But in the same world that they wanted. So like at first, I wrote a lot of werewolf romance.
Genuinely, I love those.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me too. I mean, there's so much to be mined there. And there's so like the tropes are different. They're intense over there. Like it's a great world to be a part of. And at first my clients would be like, I want this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. And then after a while, they'd be like, just write one for me because I would know how to do what they wanted, that kind of thing. It was really fun. It was a playground and I got to learn how to work really hard on deadline. That was, I think, the most important thing was like, it wasn't like someday I'll be a writer. It was like, oh God, I have a book due on Friday and I'm not going to get paid literally unless I get it done. So it was just like, sit down and buzz. And my, like how many words I could type in a minute, it got so fast. I was kind of like, am I thinking these or are they just happening to me? Like they're here, they're on the page.
What do you think your word per minute is?
Oh God, I have no idea actually, even like what's a good word per minute.
I think that like, oh gosh, I can't remember. I think that it's like average to be 60 words per minute, which is like slow.
I'm sure I'm faster than that, but I will say when I'm just sitting down to actually write, so it's not like if you were like dictating something to me and then I was typing it, I'm sure I could go really fast. But when I'm actually sitting down to write, I get between like 1,200 and 1,400 words in an hour.
I'm seeing now it's 40 to 60 words per minute is considered a good typing speed. 60 to 90 is required for data entry or transcription. And then advanced is 80. I feel like I'm faster than 60, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy.
I kind of do too, but that might just be like a very inflated ego.
Yeah, same. When you were ghostwriting, was there ever a book that you wrote and you were like, I love this so much. I'm so sad that it's not going to have my name on it.
So yes, that was starting to happen. There were a couple ones. Actually, I just went back and read one of them recently where I was like, that was good. There was a lot of gasoline in that engine or in that car. But as I was nearing this place and I was writing books really fast and I was feeling really confident in my skills. And this idea came to me, the scene and these characters came to me and I just knew I'm not going to sell it. I'm not even going to pitch it to anybody. I'm just going to see if I can write it. The worst that happens is I spend 3 weeks writing this first draft and it lives in a drawer. Like that's what I'm risking. I'm risking 3 weeks. That's it. But I just had this inkling that my heart was going to be in this book and that I would be something would happen with it. I don't know why I thought that. I just did. And it was the first book I ever sold. I sold it to Harlequin and under the name Cara Bastone. And it was mine. And I could not have done it without writing all of those other ghostwritten novels. It would not be here if I hadn't. It was almost like all of that other stuff was like snow.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to like dig out the snow to find the treasure box that was in there. That's like all the books I've wanted to keep since then. And since I published that one, I did keep ghostwriting for a while, but I lost an affection or like an electricity for it because I realized I could write under my name. I could see a book all the way through. It's almost like when you're ghostwriting, it's almost like you're giving birth to a baby and then giving it to someone to raise,
right.
You know? That worked really well for me. It was the right choice for me for so much of my writing career. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? I want to edit the crap out of these books. I want an editor. I want someone to help me. I want to become a better writer. I want a team to help me be a better writer. And then I want to put it out in the world and be proud of it and tell people I wrote it. And that has turned out to be a really important part of my emotional career and my writing career and just me as an adult too. Like I want to take credit for my work and that has translated into better books. Like every time then the process of putting a book into the world, it grows me as a person. And then I have more to bring when I'm writing the next book too. It like feeds itself, I guess.
And you have written 4 books for Harlequin, 2 books for Dial, and then 4 Audible originals. How was that writing process a little bit different since it was never going to be paper book?
Yeah, they still feel like a book to me.
They're still counting. Because audiobooks
yeah,
count.
Totally. I 100% agree. And in terms of structuring and the surprises that are there, plotting. It's all very, very book-like. They do call them audio plays, like in my contracts and stuff. And they do feel a lot like a play, albeit a very long one, because they're, 8 hours long. It's like the longest. No one would go to a play that was 8 hours long, I don't think. But they're mostly dialogue, which is really cool. You're writing at a different pace. There's the introspection that is there is provided by the voice actor. So a lot of it is very much more spare. I'd say they're lighter. And there's no sex scenes because I was like, I can't write a sex scene for other people to perform. I just can't do it. Like, personally, that is something I can't do. I really admire the people who can do that. But I just was like, I don't know. I had a wall there.
Wait, but there was spice in Promise Me Sunshine.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, there's sex scenes in books that will become audiobooks. But the audio plays that I write for Audible Originals is literally the two actors like sit in the room together, and it's like line, 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 line. So, and most of them are dialogue only. So like, yes, there are sex scenes in Promise Me Sunshine, Ready or Not, all my Harlequin books. If you look at those pages, it's like, 6 inches of narrative block, right? Where they're like in there's sensations, there's feelings, there's, they're having realizations. And then there's like a line of dialogue.
Yeah, but your dialogue during your sex scenes is always funny. And I like that.
Yes, I know. I can't help myself. I have to crack jokes in order to get the sex scene out there. There must be humor too. It's like the vehicle that it rides on for me. But I'm like, okay, a dialogue only sex scene, I'm supposed to like write in the moans? Like, I can't do it. I can't make myself do it. I will tell you.
So I'm on the Penguin Random House audio influencer, so I get a lot of audiobooks early. And there was one, and I won't name it because I don't want it to get hate, but they do the moaning during the scene, and it was not a fun time. I was like, I can't listen to this. God. I had to stop.
See, there is a time and a place for that. And I don't think it's in like just a straight up romance novel. I think, there's like, I don't know, there's audiobook erotica out there, but I think that's got to be what you go in.
Right. You have to know when you start listening that there's going to be moaning.
Yes.
And I didn't know. And I was like, oh, it's still going.
It's happening here. You like speed it up and then it's happening like Minnie Mouse, like going super.
I always listen faster, which doesn't bother me for dialogue because your brain will speed that up with you. But then there's like little asides where they'll like laugh, or they'll be like, or they'll like little titters and stuff where it doesn't sound quite.
It doesn't translate. Yeah. It takes you back out of it for a second. I was like, I get that. Yeah,
but that's okay. I love audiobooks and I still listen to them really fast. But it's just because my brain processes faster. When I listen at the regular speed, it sounds like it's going in slow motion. But I think that anybody who like consumes content that I make listens to me talk this fast and they're like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense to me. So I don't do that with audiobooks, but I do that with like Netflix, which is
you can speed up Netflix?
Yes, you can. Because there are things like, okay, for instance, I really want to say I'll want to watch a series that everybody's talking about, but it's got like violence and stuff in it. But plot happens during the violent scenes, that kind of thing. So I don't want to like completely skip it. But once it's going fast, there's like a comical nature to it. So, so I'm like, okay, all right, this character I love dies. But it was like kind of funny when it happened. So I'm not like completely devastated over it. But it definitely eliminates a lot of the acting chops and like gravitas from the actors because they're acting, they're moving. Yeah.
Sure.
But I do recommend it. Keep it in your back pocket if there's ever something you have to watch. Or you like have to watch it for whatever reason and you don't want to see a certain scene. Just speed that baby up and you'll be fine.
Maybe I'll rewatch Game of Thrones that way because I didn't watch Game of Thrones all the way through because I didn't like half the plots. I was like, I don't care what these people are doing. So I would just watch the little screen thing at the bottom until characters I liked showed up.
Skip there.
Right. And then I'm like, I don't care what they're doing. So maybe I'll try again on Game of Thrones, but just speed through the people I don't like instead of skipping them entirely. Who could say?
Yeah.
So, Cara, you have a book coming out soon, Promise Me Sunshine.
Yeah, it's out March 4th.
March 4th.
Coming soon. Yeah.
And is there anything that you want to say to promote it to our listeners? I liked it so much and I cried, but so it is not like a haha funny romance, but also it is a haha funny romance, but also it's a sad one because it's about grief first and foremost. And I listened to it coming home from a funeral, which was a terrible decision on my part, but that's on me.
Well, I hope that some of the humor in that book could be there for you in that moment. Like, that's what I really wanted to do with this book, was make people who had experienced grief. The first time I ever experienced grief, I was like, what the hell is happening to me? It just was like so much different than sadness. It was so much different than any other feeling I've ever felt. And I thought it would be over and then it would like start back at the beginning again, like that kind of thing. It just was so jarring. And so I wanted it to be very true to the real experience of grief, so that it wouldn't cause people pain necessarily to read it, but it would make them feel recognized and make them feel seen in their experiences with grief. I also wanted it to be potentially a really good companion for someone who was experiencing it or had experienced it in the past through humor. Humor is like the vehicle that everything else rides on. I think I already even said that about the sex scenes, but like obviously humor it's a language I speak, I guess, and it made everything else flow for me. And so, yeah, I wanted it to be I wanted people to cry if they needed to cry when they read it, hopefully in a way that released things for them that needed to be released. And I wanted people to laugh a lot when they were reading it. Those are like my two goals. Like, everything that's great about a hug, I wanted that to be there in the book for anyone who needed it. Yeah, that was my goal.
It definitely really makes you feel seen in a way that like I wasn't really expecting, especially when they're talking about Lenny not going back to the apartment. Like that was so powerful to me, when it's the same apartment, it's got all of her stuff and it has all the happy memories, but it's so different and so empty.
It totally. I mean, I don't know anything besides grief that can show you your altered world like that, where you're like, this is my kitchen table, but it will never be the same kitchen table again because of whatever loss you've just experienced. And that is like grief makes you a stranger in your own life. And I wanted the book to feel like a friend at that time. It's not just for someone who's been through grief and struggled with it. Like, I think that book, there's something there for anyone. There's also just a great love story, I think, in that book. But the thing that I think is probably most universal is that she's a real mess, and not in a like zany rom-com sort of like trip over your shoelaces and spill your coffee on your silk blouse on your way to your first day of your internship sort of mess. But like, her life is not functional at the beginning of that novel, but who she is on the inside, the unstoppable part of her that makes her lovable, is very obvious to Miles. And that is what, like, if you take anything away from this book, I wanted that to be the idea that like, even when you're going to pieces, you are lovable, and there is someone out there who could love you in that period of time. It's up, you obviously have to pick up your own pieces too, as well as you can, but like, romance finds you when it finds you. And it's okay if your life is shambles. The most romantic time in my life was like basically so much of this book of my husband. I would not have survived this grief without him. He loved me through it. But because I was me through it still. I felt like a stranger in my own life, but I was me still. That's what I want people to take from this book.
And then you said that you have another one coming soon in May. Do you want to tell us anything about it? Can you tell us anything about it?
Yeah, I can. It's an Audible original. So it's the second in a series of their time slips. So that's kind of like what was on my mind there with the book we just wrote.
Makes sense.
Yeah. This one is called Better Luck Next Time. And it's about a couple who go through a solar flare wormhole thing and into a parallel universe. So they are pretty much enemies, old friends, now enemies in their normal life. And then they go through this wormhole to a world where they're married and divorcing. So they're like trying to figure out how, like, why are they getting divorced, but also how did they fall in love? And they realize that the people who are in this world over here, the married and divorced, they went through the wormhole to the other way, to the world where they never got married. And so there's like double the what if of like, I guess it's pretty much the exact same book we just wrote, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's like
different characters, it's fine.
Different characters. It's like which world is which choice is the right choice, and is it too late for us, for the main people in the book, is it too late to start a romance? And for the people who go to the other storyline, like, or to the original storyline? Like, is it too late for them to rekindle their romance? That sort of thing. Yeah, it was super fun to write. It was all dialogue, and I got to write. She's a musician in it, so I got to write lyrics to original songs that my sound design team at Audible, like, they all play instruments, and so they recorded them and wrote melodies and all that. Like, there'll be original music in it. I was so excited. Really cool. And then in a year, I'll have the third. So Ready or Not was my first. Promise Me Sunshine is my second with Dial. And then there's 2 more books that like take place in the general universe of these books. And so the third one, tentatively titled The Fine Line, that'll be out in a year too. I'm like pretty much done with that one. So yeah, it's all going. Things are happening.
That's great. I love that. And, you know, you have all that experience from writing so many books that you can, you really know your voice and you know your craft.
Yeah, it's true.
So can I grab a couple of recommendations from you? Who is your writing inspiration? Who do you like always go back to?
I have a couple. I mean, Jane Austen. She just like, she got it right, and we should all stop trying because she did it the best for sure. George Eliot, the book Middlemarch. That is, I just don't know if anyone has ever written a better ensemble slice of life romance. It's the best book of all time, maybe. But let's see, more modern writers. I love Louise Penny. She writes mysteries. I love her integration of life philosophy into plot. So she's able to take like things the characters are thinking about and then shape plot through those ideas. I think that's really wild. For romance, Beverly Jenkins is just, I mean, she's the GOAT. And I reread a lot. And then anytime I'm in the mood for something new that won't be a miss, I'm like, I just can't face a miss right now. I'm just like, all right, let me get a new Bev Jenkins, or one I haven't read yet. Right.
And then I don't know if this is something that happens outside of anime and manga, but I noticed that you said slice of life. Is that, do you have anime or manga recommendations, or do you just say slice of life because that's also in regular fiction?
Okay, so you're very smart and right on. Okay, let's see. I just read Fruits Basket. We love. Yeah.
Fruits Basket's great. I would also recommend A Sign of Affection. That one's a great one. That one is, they're in college, and then she is deaf and he's a polyglot. So he learns languages like crazy, and she like goes to the bar that he works at and she's signing, and he's like, I gotta learn that new language. And so then they're like, they grow together, and it's very cute.
Okay, done. I'm there.
It also
My
just
weekend
got
is filled
an anime, so if you'd prefer, but I read the manga.
Okay.
And they do something really interesting in the manga where like she's reading lips, and if she doesn't quite understand what they say, they'll put the text upside down or like mix it up a little bit.
I love that.
She didn't quite, like, you get the gist, but we didn't quite understand what they said.
See, that is what's so interesting to me about anime and manga, is that really good authors can do that, can create effects through language play that help you understand that. That's not just like she understood some of it, but not all of it. You know, it's like you can feel how she's feeling. But anime and manga, like they actually put you in her perspective, and then you can see it through that artwork. Like, it's just kind of incomparable to me. There's no other form. It's such an efficient and beautiful way of communicating an idea. I just love it. It's so cool.
Definitely
I love that
recommend.
you're a reader.
And then do you only do manga, or do you do manhwa, or also manhwa but spelled differently as well?
I would say mostly manga. Yeah.
I'm in a manhwa kick right now just because I'm in the freaking reincarnation era. There's so many. And they're all the exact same. And I love them all every single time. It's always the exact same plot.
Yeah, it works. I mean, once you find your trope, you're like, that's all I need for the rest of my life until, for 5 years, and then I'll do a different trope. Do you watch K-drama?
I'm watching Twinkling's Watermelon right now.
Okay.
Which also is a time jump.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, did you watch Lovely Runner?
A little bit. I didn't finish it, but I was watching it as it was airing, which is always a bad call for me, because if I get to where there are no more episodes, then I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, that is also a like a reincarnation. I mean, is it reincarnation? Yeah, sort of. No.
I was like, I don't remember that part.
No, she's going back. She is going back into different, like, her own life, and then living a different timeline of it based on changes she's made to her past. So that's not reincarnation at all. now that I say it.
I must be thinking of a different.
Some of the same like narrative effects take place in that way. But yeah.
I think I'm thinking of a different show.
Okay.
I think I'm thinking of Run On.
Oh, okay.
Like,
no, there's no. I love that one, but I will tell you that is one of the ones that I watched on double speed. I was like, anytime the male lead wasn't on the screen, I was like, let's get, come on.
It's on my list. I haven't started yet, but Love Scout, I'm gonna watch it. That one's
I'm in the middle of it right now. It is so good. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the only subscription that I pay for is Viki. Yeah. The other ones I steal from other people, but no one else had that one, so I pay for that. Pay for that myself, which is crazy. Okay, so we talked about your writing inspo and some anime and manga recommendations. Do you have any books that are coming out in 2025 that you're super excited to read?
Well, yeah. So there's the new Allie Hazelwood, which actually okay, so you read it. Did you read the arc? It came out, I think, last week.
I listened to the audio.
Okay.
I had the arc on audio.
Okay, got it. It was great. I'm so excited. I can't.
Oh my God.
Help myself.
I can't even talk about it because it's so good, but everything I have to say about it is a spoiler, so I can't tell you anything.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so we will not. We will just file it under fantastic.
Yes, Deep End, originally titled Wet. Great book.
Yeah, okay.
Tell me what you're currently reading.
I am in the middle of an arc right now, like a blurb request that I will absolutely be blurbing because it's so good and you should look out for it. It's called The Friendship Fling, and it's about two people who agree to only be friends.
Oh, sure.
And you can guess what happens there. But the banter is really good, and I won't spoil it for anyone because I want you to go out and buy this book. It has maybe the best first line of any romance novel I've ever read. It is so good.
Right. And that was If It Was a Book. This podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. If you would like to have your story rewritten as if it was a book, you can email us at ifitwasabook@gmail.com. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Wicked Reads, and then you can find the podcast on TikTok and Instagram at If It Was a Book. And then, Cara, where can we find you?
You can find me on IG at Cara Bastone. You can also go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter, which I'm really hoping more people will do because I write short form essay there like maybe twice a month. And yeah, in case like all of the social media platforms just like go as nuts as they've been going, my newsletter will never be nuts. It'll just be me and my personal uncensored thoughts. So please come find me there.
Wonderful. I will be subscribing immediately. Thank you so much for listening.